Welcome to a slow, beginner-friendly lesson on reading and writing text files in Python, made for absolute beginners. The outside world awaits. Today you learn how Python talks to the outside world. Until now, your data lived inside variables, gone the moment the program stops. Real programs need to save data to disk and read it back later. Python makes this calm and simple with a few clear tools. We start with plain text files: open, read, write, close. By the end you will read and write your first file with calm confidence. Persistence begins. Until now, every value you created lived in memory. The moment your program stops, that data is gone. Files change that. A file lives on disk, separate from your running program. You can write data out, quit, come back tomorrow, and read it back in. Configuration files, log files, notes, saved games, all of them are just files on disk. Python gives you a small, clear set of tools to work with them. Data that survives. Until now, your work vanished when the program ended. Today that changes. Files let your data outlive the moment, resting calmly on disk until you ask for it again. Files outlive the moment. Here is the most basic file operation. Open takes a file name and a mode, here are for read. It returns a file object, a kind of live connection to the file on disk. You can see it as a text.io wrapper, which just means a text channel to the file. When you are done, you call close to release that connection. Open, use, close, that is the basic shape. We will make it safer very soon. Open returns a connection. Read returns the entire contents of the file as one string. If the file holds 3 lines, you get all 3 joined by new line characters. Notice the \n in the output, that is how Python represents a line break inside a string. When you print the string, those new lines become visible line breaks. Read is perfect for small files where you want everything at once. Read pulls everything. Readline returns exactly 1 line at a time, including the trailing new line character. Each call moves the reading position forward, so the next call gives you the next line. This is useful when files are large and you do not want to load everything into memory at once. You read what you need, line by line, and stop when you have enough. 1 line at a time. Readlines returns a list of all lines, each one keeping its new line character. You get back a Python list, first item is line 1, second item is line 2, and so on. This is handy when you want to loop over lines later or reach a specific line by index. Remember that each string still ends with a new line, so you may want to strip that off when you process the text. A list of all lines. 3 ways to read, 3 purposes. Read gives you the whole file as one big string, perfect for small files. Readline gives you 1 line at a time, moving forward with each call, ideal when files are huge and you want to stop early. Readlines gives you a list of all lines, handy when you want to loop or index. They all read the same file, the difference is how the text comes back to you. 3 readers, 3 jobs. Python supports several file modes, but 3 cover almost everything you need. R opens for reading, the default, and the safest place to start. W opens for writing, and here is the danger, it erases the file first if it already exists. A opens for append, which adds new content to the end without touching what is there. Always choose the mode that matches what you actually intend to do. Pick the right mode. Write sends a string to the file. Notice we open with mode W, which means write. Each call to write adds characters where the writing position is. You control line breaks yourself, write does not add them for you. That is why we put \n at the end of each string. Without it, hello and world would be glued together on 1 line. Write returns the number of characters written. Write sends strings. Writelines takes a list of strings and writes them all in one call. Despite the name, it does not add new lines for you, each string must already contain its own line break if you want one. Writelines is just a convenient way to dump many prepared lines into a file at once. If your strings have no new lines, they will all land on the same line. Prepare your data first, then write. Many lines at once. Writing to a file is a small promise to the future. The words you send today will still be there tomorrow, waiting quietly on disk until you or another program reaches for them again. A promise to disk. Here is the trap with manual close. If your program raises an error before reaching close, the file stays open. Do that many times and your operating system runs out of file handles, and your program starts failing in confusing ways. Forgetting close altogether has the same effect. You need a pattern that closes the file no matter what happens. Python gives you exactly that. Forgetting close hurts. Think of working with a file as 3 clear moments. You open the file and get a connection. Inside the with block, you do your real work, read or write, as much as you need. When the block ends, Python closes the file for you, automatically, even if something went wrong. You never call close yourself. Cleanup is guaranteed. That is the whole point of the with statement. 3 calm moments. Here is the with statement in action. The file opens and is bound to the name F. Inside the indented block, you use F as normal. Here we read the whole file. The moment the block ends, Python closes F for you. Notice we never called close. You can check f.closed afterwards and it returns true. This is the safe pattern, and you should use it for almost every file operation. Close is guaranteed. The with statement works for writing too. Here we open a log file in append mode, that means add to the end, do not erase what is there. We write 1 line. Later we open it again, write another line. Both lines survive because append never overwrites. Each with block opens, writes, and closes, clean and predictable. This is exactly how real programs write log files. Append builds logs. The with statement is a quiet guardian. It opens the door for you, watches while you work, and locks it safely behind you when you leave, every single time. The quiet guardian. If you try to open a file that does not exist in read mode, Python raises file not found error. This is not a crash, it is Python telling you something specific you can handle. You catch it with try and accept, just like any other error. In practice you check whether a file exists before opening, or wrap the open call in a try block. Missing files become a normal part of your program's logic, not a surprise. Handle the missing case. Text files store bytes, but you think in characters. Encoding tells Python how to translate between the two. UTF-8 is the modern default and handles almost every language correctly. Always pass encoding equals UTF-8 when you open a text file. It prevents strange errors the moment your text contains accents, emoji, or anything beyond plain English. Speak in UTF-8. Here is a complete read pattern you will use often. Open the file with UTF-8 encoding. Read all lines into a list. Then strip the trailing new line from each line using a list comprehension. Strip removes whitespace from both ends of a string, including the new line. What remains is clean text ready to use. This is exactly how you load a simple configuration file or any line-based text data. Strip and use. Here is a complete write pattern. You have a list of items and you want each one on its own line in a file. Open in write mode with UTF-8. Loop over the list, and for each item, write it followed by a new line. The result is a clean text file with 1 item per line. Next time you run the program, you can read it back with red lines. This is the simplest kind of persistent storage. 1 line per item. Python opens files in text mode by default, which is what you want almost all the time. Text mode handles encoding for you and gives you strings. There is also binary mode, opened with RB or WB, which gives you raw bytes instead of characters. You need binary for images, audio, video, or any file that is not plain text. For now, stick with text mode, it covers everything we do in this lesson. Text by default. Here is the whole lesson in one breath. Open returns a live connection to a file on disk. You read with read for everything, red line for 1 line, or red lines for a list. You write with write or write lines. Modes are R for read, W for write, A for append. The single most important habit, always use the with statement, so the file closes itself no matter what happens in your code. Open, read, write, close. You can now read and write plain text files. But real programs juggle many files across many folders, and string paths get messy fast. Next lesson introduces pathlib, Python's clean, modern way to build and inspect file paths. After that, we meet JSON, the universal format for structured data on disk and over the network. Files, paths, and JSON together open the door to real input and output. Paths come next. If you want to lock this in, try this small exercise. Create a file with 3 short lines using write and new lines. Then open it again, call red lines, and print the length of the result. You should see the number 3. That confirms your write succeeded and your read works. Once you can write a file, read it back, and trust the result, you have crossed an important threshold in Python. Write and read back. Thanks for learning to read and write text files. Next we explore file paths with pathlib. Files are open.